Hey everyone, welcome to Area 616. So, Wednesday night, out of nowhere, Variety dropped a huge bombshell like it was nothing, and I just had to make a video on it. The announcement was that Disney is planning to give several big-name Marvel heroes from the big screen their own limited series on their upcoming streaming service, Disney Play. They didn't list all of them, but they did mention two big names, Loki and Scarlet Witch. This is insanely exciting. It sounds like Marvel and Disney are finally getting to the point where they can give fans what they really want. Before now, it always sounded cool for Loki and Scarlet Witch to get their own solo movies, but it also sounded unrealistic. There's only so much room on the year-to-year schedule after all. But now, Disney Play offers up the opportunity for big-name Marvel characters to get the chance to shine on their own, which is a huge deal. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about what we might be able to expect from these series, as well as other Marvel heroes that I'd like to see get their own solo series in the future. Loki's announcement is both really exciting and slightly worrying. I love Loki as much as the next guy, but, spoilers for Infinity War, I'm also one of the seemingly few fans that wants him to stay dead after Infinity War. I mean, seriously, how many times can he resurrect and we just take it seriously? It was the perfect ending for the character, a great way to end his arc. Bringing him back to life again would just be cheap. I mean, really, where would they even go with that? But a Loki miniseries set in the past, that's a different story. For example, what if it was set on Asgard during the years Thor was away looking for the Infinity Stones, and Loki was disguised as Odin? That might not completely work, as that would require a lot of involvement from Anthony Hopkins, but it's just a fun idea. If it was set in that time frame, they could take the chance to feature a more satisfying portrayal of the Warriors 3, and maybe even explain where Sif has been. Enchantress could be the villain. That'd be really awesome. Maybe it follows Loki being swept away on an adventure while he's trying to rule Asgard. Or it could be set before the events of the first Thor, just following Loki in his peak mischief-causing days. There's a lot of potential here to flesh out Loki's character even more, and Thor by extension. This does make me wonder if Chris Hemsworth might drop by for a cameo, or maybe even a larger role. Ooh, they could even introduce Thori, Loki/Thor's pet hellhound. There are a lot of interesting directions they could take a Scarlet Witch series in. It really just depends on what kind of future they want her to have in the MCU. One idea I'm thinking is, what if she goes on a quest to bring Quicksilver back from the dead? The only reason Quicksilver died in the first place is because Marvel only had permission to use him in one film. But as soon as Disney buys Fox, that won't be the case anymore. I'd love to see more of Quicksilver. His powers are awesome, and he has a great dynamic with Wanda that I'd love to see more of. If they went this route, it could explore the more mystical side of Wanda, maybe introduce Agatha Harkness, Chthon and the Dark Gods, Wundagore Mountain. Heck, maybe Doctor Strange could cameo too. So there's that, but there's also the potential for a series focusing on Wanda and Vision. This depends on if Vision is rebuilt after Infinity War. Like Loki, I'm hesitant for him to be brought back, as stakes are something the MCU really needs. But if they just keep bringing people back to life, they'll lose that for good. But I think it could work with Vision, especially if they add consequences. Maybe when Vision returns, he's not the same, he's emotionless. Another potential direction could do with the X-Men's arrival, changing Wanda into a mutant. In Age of Ultron, it was implied that Wanda and Pietro were different from the get-go, which is why they got abilities and no one else did. So maybe the Mind Stone just activated a dormant gene inside of them, and a similar thing is what brings about the arrival of mutants in the MCU. Really, I could see a way to combine all of these stories here. There's just a lot of potential for a Scarlet Witch series. I'm really glad Marvel's exploring this. But what about other heroes? What other characters from the movies could have their own limited series on Disney's service? The first one to come to mind is obviously Korg. I mean, how incredible would that be? Taika Waititi just reportedly met with Marvel about doing another project. Maybe it's a Korg series. But I'd also love to see a Falcon series because, I mean, come on, it's Falcon. I'd love to see his backstory fleshed out, his childhood in Brooklyn. There's so much interesting stuff there. It would really just be interesting to see Sam get to shine on his own because he really is a great character. And then there's Hawkeye. I mean, I don't have to break down why this would be awesome. I'd love to see the series focus on both Kate Bishop and Clint Barton, with a retiring Clint training Kate to take on the mantle. And then there's Wakanda. The potential in Wakanda is insane. I would love to see a series focusing on Nakia, Shuri, or Okoye, or all of them. It would be cool to get a grip on what the day-to-day life is like for citizens of Wakanda. You know, maybe what was their reaction to Killmonger taking over. It would be really interesting. Maybe just make a World of Wakanda series. A Rocket and Groot series would be a ton of fun. Obviously, it'd need a pretty big CGI budget, but I'm sure Disney could deliver on that front, especially if they made it like 6 episodes or something. It could be set before the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie and could flesh out Rocket's past with experimentation and give Groot some backstory too, maybe show how they met. Jerry Dugan recently wrote some issues that had Rocket and Groot go up against the Gardener, putting a neat spin on a question often asked about the first Guardians movie. What happened to all the other Groot twigs on Xandar? Maybe we could see that brought to life in the MCU, or at least a version of that. I thought about Gamora and Nebula, but to me, they just don't feel like they need a prelude series. There are some things that are just more impactful when you don't see them play out, and their backstory is one of those things. A Star-Lord series might be fun too, but I just don't have a huge desire for it. Although now that I think about it, maybe a series about the Ravagers, about Yondu and Starhawk and all that, that would be really fun. Now, obviously, a Howard the Duck series is a top priority. I mean, seriously though, I would watch that. Leia Thompson, who was in the first Howard the Duck movie from the 1980s, she actually really did just pitch a Howard the Duck idea to Marvel. So this might actually be a possibility. Oh, and how could I forget? The Hulk. Marvel doesn't have the movie rights to him, but they do have the TV rights. They almost made a live-action MCU-based series about him with the living legend Guillermo del Toro, set to produce it and serve as a showrunner, but they dropped it for being too expensive. What if they brought that back? I mean, could you imagine how awesome a Guillermo del Toro created Hulk series would be? Seriously guys, the potential here is insane. And this doesn't have to be about characters from now. We could have series or maybe even movies featuring Nova, Spectrum, maybe America Chavez. All the characters that deserve their own solo adventures but never had time to get them. Now there are some things that should be noted here. This is not the secret Marvel series being developed for Disney Play. That's a Marvel television project. This series is reportedly coming directly from Marvel Studios, so it'll be its own entity entirely. Marvel Television is not at all involved. And things could change between now and then. It's a possibility that these projects may be cancelled before they arrive, or changed into movies, or whatever. But it's still really exciting to know that they are being developed. But of course, I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. What Marvel characters would you like to see get the limited series treatment? And what are some things you'd like to see happen in them? There's no telling when we could expect any real news from these projects. My guess is the absolute earliest we could see any of these come out is in the fall of 2020, and that's being generous. But I imagine we should get some green lights by this time next year or so. So yeah, let me know all your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.